Hi, this is Ameila and Elizabeth, and we are here with Dane Campbell from Phil Campbell and the Bastard Sons. Thank you for having this interview with us today. We really appreciate it. Yeah, thank you.
No problem at all. Thanks for wanting to interview me.
Of course, anytime. So, how's everything been going for you with COVID?
Well, obviously with regards to the band, we haven't been able to play any show. We were very productive at the start because we recorded a new album, which is out soon, called We're the Bastards. On a personal level, I've been really productive as well because I started my own podcast and I interviewed different drummers, and that's going pretty well. It's still early days, but it's keeping me very busy. So I'm making the most of the time.
Yeah, so can you tell everyone more about your podcast?
Oh, yeah, sure. Well, it started off as an idea last year when I was at festivals. We were playing lots of big festivals in Europe, and we were sharing stages with some quite big bands, and I was like, there's loads of cool drummers around here. And at the time, I was listening to a lot of new podcasts, and I was like, maybe I could make my own one someday, but I was kind of too busy, and I didn't really know the technical kind of stuff then and how to do it. And it is fairly simple, but I just didn't really look into it. And I guess as soon as the COVID thing happened, I kind of knew all our busy. Well, we had the busiest year of shows that we ever had this year, but obviously none of them happened, and every single one has been cancelled now. But so I had some downtime. I thought maybe this is the way this is the time to start the podcast, and everyone was doing it via Zoom, and I thought, that looks easy enough to do. Maybe I can do that. And so I put the feelers out there. I spoke to my dad about it, and I was like, can you maybe ask a few of your mates to start off so I can, start interviewing a few drummers that are quite well known to give me a little bit of a head start, which I know it's a nice benefit to have. But yeah, the first one I did was with Nigel Glockler from Saxon, and the third episode was with Matt Sorum from using Guns N' Roses and Velvet Revolver. So I've had some great guests so far, but I'm kind of trying to do as much of it off my own back now. And I've met a lot of people over the years, being in bands since I was a teenager. So I'm interviewing a few local guys as well that I know, and people I've met over the years. But we don't. It's not just for drummers. So it's called Drum for the Song. So that's just the name inspired for it. But I don't want to aim it directly at drummers. So we only talk about drums for like a small portion of the interview. But we normally talk about their history, how they started playing, about the bands they're in, touring, and loads of cool stuff really. And yeah, it's going well. It's just early days with regards to me finding a wider audience. I'm pushing it as much as I can, but that's what I need to learn. I need to learn more about the advertising side of things, I guess. Pretty difficult.
Yeah, I think we're definitely learning about the advertising side. November 13, what can fans expect?
Yeah, well, it's hard. We call it hard rock. Well, other people call it hard rock. So, I wouldn't say it's the most unique thing you'd ever hear, because that would be lying. But yeah, we're trying to stick within that kind of rock demographic. It's not quite metal. There's maybe one or two tracks with some metal elements, but it's not really heavy metal. It's kind of good, catchy, kind of like, it's catchy rock music. It makes you have fun, and I guess some of the songs have a nice party vibe to it. There's a few songs with more of a southern rock feel, slightly slower tempos, and yeah. But for anyone who's heard our first album, Age of Absurdity, I wouldn't say it was too far away from that, but it's a little bit more experimental than that one was. And we've had some great feedback so far, and a few reviews have started coming in now, and we had a 10 out of 10 review already. So that's really encouraging. I don't know if they're all going to be that good, but the fact that someone gave us that is amazing, because I didn't expect those kind of 10 out of 10 reviews. But just hopefully just great rock music with some good hooks, and so you can kind of sing along and rock out whenever you want. And it sounds really good as well. Like I think the production on it's really great. So if you're into that kind of thing, it does sound really, really good.
And what was your writing and recording process for your new album?
Yeah, good question. Fortunately, we pretty much finished writing it just before the kind of lockdown in the UK started, which was nice because otherwise it would have been pretty difficult. But what we normally do as a band, we write the music first, and then Neil, our singer, adds his vocals later on. So he's not really involved in the writing process of the song structures and the riffs and stuff like that. So he was completely separate this time around. So we wrote all the music for, I think, about 11 songs before the lockdown in the UK started, knowing we had a deadline to record the album. And then there were 2 songs that were even added that, well, we kind of created in the studio then. I think my dad, Phil, sent like a riff on his camera. He recorded a riff. Oh, I just written a last minute riff. See if you can make a song out of this. And we did make a song out of it, and it's turned out pretty well. And so that was kind of it. And then the recording process, this time around we were recording ourselves because my brother Todd, who plays guitar in the band, he's a producer, he's got his own studio. So that gave us a lot of flexibility with regards to, I guess, the time and the scheduling and freedom to do what we wanted, really. And it kept the costs down a lot, which obviously was a good thing in hindsight, because we're not playing any gigs this year, so we're not really making the money from the gigs that we normally would. But yeah, we did. It was during the kind of height of the strict lockdown in the UK, so we only brought 2 of us into the studio at any one time. So we were never in the studio together as a full band, which was strange, but I think it still worked out okay. It's not. I guess we wouldn't have done it like that if we were kind of allowed, or we thought it was safe to have all of us in. We were trying to keep super safe. You know, my dad's a lot older than us. He didn't really want to be, well, especially at that time. It was when no one really knew how serious this thing was, and we were just being extra careful. So yeah, I did my drums. It was just me and my brother Todd in the studio for, I think, 4 days, maybe 5 days. I can't remember now. And that was the only time I was in the studio. And then I went back a few weeks later to play some tambourine and some percussion on some of the tracks. And then the other boys did the rest of the stuff on their own, you know. So apart from, you know, working really hard those 5 days, I kind of just went back home and did nothing, just to be safe. So it was more work for Todd. It was a lot of work for Todd because he was there all the time recording and engineering it and all that. But yeah, we're really happy with how it turned out. We got it mixed elsewhere by a guy called Søren Andersen from Denmark. He mixed my dad's solo album, which came out last year, called Old Lions Still Roar. So we were really happy with that. So that's why we went with him again. And it put a lot of the pressure off Todd because he didn't have to mix it himself.
Right.
But yeah, it's good. Sounds really good.
That's awesome. And you also brought out a crew shirt because of COVID.
Yeah.
So can you tell us more about that?
Yeah, it was just an idea we had. We were kind of hoping that our headline tour this November was going to happen. During the summer, we were kind of hopeful that would still happen, and then it turned out now that none of these gigs are happening. And, you know, we're friendly with our crew. They're not just, you know, people we employ. They're our friends. They're our mates. And a few of them are struggling to get any work at all, to get, you know, other work elsewhere. And that's what they've been doing, you know, most of their adult lives is working with bands. So when that's your only experience, it is difficult to get other jobs. So it was just an idea we had, and, you know, we were obviously we're losing out on a lot from not being able to play shows, but we thought it's something we can do to help those guys out a little bit, is put a bit of merch out. So we've put a special t-shirt out I kind of came up with the rough design and making it look like you're wearing a sticky backstage pass on your T-shirt. And it says "We're the Bastard Crew" on the back of the T-shirt. But yeah, unfortunately, we've actually taken the orders down as of today. So the last chance to order was yesterday. So if you listen to this, you can't order one anymore. But yeah, we've sold quite a few, and once we get those printed out, then we're going to split the money between our crew. Well, kind of our regular crew, I guess. Sometimes we have random guys standing in, but our most common regular guys, I think there's 4 or 5 of them. So we're just going to split the money between them, and hopefully it'll help them a little bit. It'll give them some money for Christmas or whatever that they wouldn't have had otherwise. It's just a gesture from us to say thanks and sorry that we can't really employ you anymore. Because a lot of those guys pretty much do all of our shows, or most of them, or 80% of the shows. It's just a small gesture, really. And I think a lot of our fans thought it was a nice thing to do. And we sold more of those T-shirts on the first day than we normally do when we announce a new T-shirt. So I think people were willing to buy one just knowing that they were helping out the crew. I think it's cool, and hopefully the guys will appreciate it when we eventually send them some money.
I think that's really sweet of you. I think it's really cool what you did.
Thank you. Yeah, and I think a lot of people agree with that, and I think, I don't know what the situation is with you guys, but the UK government have not been very helpful with regards to rescue packages. They were initially, they announced a good one for a few months, and they've kind of sacked that off, and they haven't really, I don't think they really realise how important the music industry is with regards to the economy, and they've just, it's ridiculous, really. We're lucky we've got a record coming out, and we can sell merchandise, we can make a little bit of money from that, but the guys in the crew can't really do that. And they don't have income, they don't have royalties and songwriting royalties and things like that, but they work harder than we do normally. So it's just a way to kind of try our best to help them out. I'm gutted we didn't sell more. The more we sold, the more money they could have had. But we tried what we could do to try and sell what we did. So it's all good. Maybe we'll do another one if it's still going on next year. We'll see.
Awesome. And now we're going to ask you our signature question. So if you could have any band perform one of your songs, which band would it be? Which song would it be? And would it be in your style or their style?
That's a really cool question. This is put me on the spot there. Let's have a look. We do. I think the initial band I thought of then, when you asked that, would have been like Foo Fighters, just because they're such a big band, and they were a band I listened to when I grew up a lot. And being a drummer, Dave Grohl is one of my favourite drummers, and I guess as a musician, I've always looked up to him, and the fact that he's a songwriter and a singer and a guitarist as well. So I think it would probably be them, Foo Fighters, performing, I guess in their own style. I'd like them to play one of our songs. As for which song, it's really difficult for me to say that. What could we do? I guess one of our latest singles off the new album called "Son of a Gun." That could be quite cool to see them play something a little bit heavier, a little bit faster than what they normally play. Because I think with the Foo Fighters, they sometimes stick kind of a fast punkier song. Because I know Dave Grohl was a fan of Motorhead, so I think he's influenced a lot by that style. So sometimes they put a song on a little bit like that. Like there was that song White Limo, and I don't know if you know that. But I think maybe if they play one of those songs, so yeah, say "Son of a Gun" by us in the style of Foo Fighters with Dave Grohl singing, that would be really interesting to hear.
That would be
It'll
cool.
never happen, but it would be cool.
How do you know it won't happen? Maybe you should ask him.
Well, I'd like to ask on my podcast, but I don't have his number. I don't have his phone number. But I don't know. He'd be the ultimate guest for me. So yeah, maybe it would happen one day. But it's a long way away. But yeah, that would be the dream.
No,
if anyone knows Dave, tell him to come on my podcast and to cover one of our songs. That'd be great.
Set your goals high because you can do it. Believe in yourself.
Yeah, to be honest, that's the best way to look at things. And I think I've been historically, not recently, I have kind of led a bit of a pessimistic, negative look on a lot of things. But the last few years, I have kind of completely changed my attitude with regards to that. And like, I'm really hopeful now that we can get back on tour for April. Our next shows are booked in April, and I'm determined that they're going to happen. So whenever someone says, "Oh, they're never going to happen," or "Next year is going to be a write-off as well," I kind of try and correct them and tell them not to think so negatively, and just try and look to the positives and just hope we can do it. And because I think if everyone thinks like that, it's just everyone's going to be miserable and depressed, and that's no good. It's not a good way. I know you try and do everything I can to look positive, and I do little things in my daily routines to kind of to get me away from all that sadness and negative things. But yeah, I think thanks for saying that, because that's right. That's definitely the way to look. So yeah, hopefully I'll have a huge podcast one day, and Spotify will pay me millions to be exclusive, like Joe Rogan.
That's the dream, right?
Yeah, that's the way.
Well,
that's as high as you can aim.
We hope it happens for you.
Thank you. I hope yours gets really positive and successful as well. You'll have to send me a link and I'll check it out.
We will. Awesome. We've only been going a few weeks, but we're trying because we just joined Rock Rage Radio in America as well. So.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
That sounds good.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So we have our website, then Rock Rage Radio, and yeah, we're just trying to like turn it into a really successful podcast, and we're kind of learning how to speak a little bit on the microphone, which is kind of a learning curve because we're normally like doing written interviews, and now we're like, so. Yeah,
that's one thing I was really, I wouldn't say worried about, but I've never liked the sound of my own voice, and I've never been particularly good at speaking in public either, but I just thought I'm going to try it, and I like to think I'm slowly getting better at it. It is it is quite difficult to do. Like I stumble on my words a lot, you've probably noticed, but as long as I'm just being myself, I think that's what people like about mine. They like that it's quite relaxed and it's quite chilled. But that's some of the feedback I've had. But yeah, the more you do it, the easier you'll find it, I'm sure. But yeah, it sounds good to me. I like you have a nice, positive, happy kind of way of talking, so sounds good to me.
Thank you. And you have a really good way of talking as well, and I really like it. So I think you're actually going to do really well, and I'm not just saying that, I actually legitimately do. So.
Thank you. Very kind of you to say.
That's okay. And last question, is there anything else you would like to say to your fans?
Well, thanks for sticking around, or if you haven't discovered us yet, or you've just discovered us, check out some of the back catalogue, or look at our videos on YouTube, and just enjoy the music. It's all out there if you do enjoy. If you get a chance to come and see us live one day, that would be amazing. I personally love to play Australia someday, and I went on vacation there last year, and it was amazing. I loved it. I just want an excuse to come back, really. So coming back with the band would be amazing. I've had a few friends that have played. They used to do. I know it doesn't exist anymore. Soundwave Festival, and everyone says it's like the best thing ever.
Oh my
it was
God.
the best festival ever. And like our singer Neil, he did that once with his old band Attack, and he said it was such a great experience. But yeah, generally, I've got family living in Perth. So I didn't actually get over to Perth, unfortunately. I was limited with time, but it'd be great to meet up with those guys if we ever get to play there. I loved Sydney when I was there. So just be an excuse to go back to those places and visit some of the other cities that I didn't play, and it'd just be amazing. And I like the weather. We don't get much much sunny weather in Wales in the UK. So that's the kind of weather I like. So hopefully we can eventually come and play for you some days.